Saturn starts its retrograde motion in Aquarius, and it's going to impact all of us in a significant way. That's what we talk about today. Hello everybody, I'm Tina Chaudhary. Welcome to my channel and a very warm namaste. So Saturn will start its retrograde motion on June 4th. It's currently transiting in the zodiac sign of Aquarius. So June 4th, it starts to retrograde back. On July 11th, it will enter Capricorn, which is the zodiac sign before Aquarius. It will continue the retrograde motion until October 22nd. On October 22nd, it starts its direct motion back moving towards Aquarius. But it will not come into Aquarius again until the next year, which is January 23rd, 2023. Now, normally Saturn stays in the same zodiac sign for about 2.5 years. So it had moved into Capricorn January 2020. So it's been in there since almost 2.5 years. So in April 2022, it had come into Aquarius. I'd made a video on that. So it had been almost 2.5 years. It had come into Aquarius, which was its new zodiac sign after 2.5 years. Now, why is it moving back into Capricorn after 2.5 years? This is because Saturn retrogrades once every year. So we're going to talk about why Saturn is retrograding, why it's moving back to Capricorn, even though it's been in Capricorn for 2.5 years already. It's moving back into Capricorn. And what does this retrograde really mean? So let's first understand what exactly a retrograde planet even means. I've explained this in my video last year when Saturn went retrograde, but I'll explain it again. So what does a retrograde planet mean? Retrograde typically means moving backwards, but we have to understand that a planet never moves backwards. A planet's motion is always going forward. So this retrograde in astrology means the relative motion. So the motion relative to another planet. The other planet is, of course, us, which is the Earth. So what happens is that once every year, when the Earth comes very close to where Saturn is orbiting, so as the Earth is orbiting around the Sun, it comes close to where Saturn is orbiting. And because Saturn orbits or moves in a very slow motion, and the Earth is moving much faster. As the Earth moves past Saturn, it seems like Saturn is moving backwards. But what's happening really is that the Earth is moving much faster compared to the speed of Saturn. So it's considered a relative or compared to each other. Saturn is moving very slow. So it seems like Saturn has moved backwards, but actually what has happened is that the Earth has moved fast. It's moving compared to Saturn, and it's next to it, so it's moving very fast. So it seems like Saturn has moved backwards. Now, the best explanation I can give, or the way I could explain it a little better, is that if we're sitting in a train or in any vehicle and there's another vehicle really close to us, and the train, let's say it's a train, the train we're sitting in starts to move ahead, but the other train also starts to move, but it moves very slowly also ahead. Then, and we look out the window, it almost seems like that the train that's next to us, that's moving much slower than us, is moving backwards. But in fact, what's happening is that the train we're in has started to move ahead very fast. So it's, like I said, it's considered a relative motion. So the word retrograde actually means going backwards, but a planet never moves backwards, always moving forward. So your Saturn would be considered retrograde, and Jupiter also would be considered retrograde once a year, because as the Earth orbits around the Sun, it's always going to come into the area where Saturn or Jupiter are orbiting. It's always going to pass by that planet at least once a year. So it's not a rare occasion or rare event that these planets become retrograde. The other thing that we would understand from this retrograde concept is that whenever a planet is retrograde, it means it's very close to the Earth, because that's why there's the concept of the relative speed. So in this case, we understand that whenever the planet Saturn or Jupiter, in this case Saturn, is retrograde, the Earth is as close to Saturn as is possible. So because they're orbiting in the same area, so both Saturn and Earth are very close to each other, which is one of the reasons that when a planet is retrograde in a birth chart, or the planet is retrograde right now, the impact of a retrograde planet is very great on us, because the energy or the vibration of that planet is felt much more by us. The impact is more on us because it's so close. So is that impact good or is it bad? Well, the planet, whatever the planet signifies, in this case we're talking about Saturn, the significations of Saturn is what is going to be more impactful. So if a planet has a malefic impact on us, Saturn has certain malefic impacts on us, then that impact is going to be more pronounced. So what are the impacts we can get from a retrograde Saturn, which is going to have such an impact on us? Saturn signifies obstacles, delays, hard work. So Saturn is also the ruler of the 10th and the 11th house. The 10th house is our career. The 11th house is our gains from our career. So it signifies hard work if you want to get gains. So Saturn always makes you work hard if you want to get gains from your career. So it's going to give us these significations. Saturn also signifies oil and minerals. So if you've noticed that the oil prices have gone up, well, a retrograde Saturn probably will cause some more of the pain related to the oil prices, because it represents oil, and so a retrograde Saturn is going to have a higher impact on the prices of oil and also the price of minerals. As far as the body is concerned, it represents the lower part of our legs, knees, ankles, feet. So people that already have some issues with aches and pains, or arthritis-like pains and aches and pains, they're going to have a more impact right now in the retrograde Saturn. Now, the other thing is that Saturn is the significator of obstacles, delays. So it wants to make you work harder before it gives you something. So that's why it throws these obstacles in our path. Anything that we want, it's going to cause an obstacle. Anything that we want, it might be delayed. So people that are looking for good career growth, or some of the ascendants looking for some career growth, some looking for some good things in their career or jobs, may have to wait a little bit. One of the important also signification, which I forgot to mention earlier, is that when Saturn moves back to Capricorn, it's going to be aspecting the sign of Libra. And guess who's hanging out in Libra? It's Ketu, the South Node. The South Node, a planet that actually doesn't like anything to do with relationships, is already in there, disturbing Libra, disturbing our relationships, and now Saturn's going to aspect it. And Saturn also is not the planet that's very conducive to relationships. So one of the things that we're all going to have to be very cautious about from now until next January is watching our relationships. All relationships, not just love relationships. I mean, every relationship in our life. The reason Saturn is swinging back into Capricorn for such a long time, or retrograding back in there, and what do we learn from this retrograde motion, is that when a planet seems to retrograde back, it's giving an indication of something that was left behind. So it's the equivalent, I always give this example, if it's the equivalent of, when you're getting ready to leave, you go into your car, you sit back down, and then as you start to drive away, you remember you've forgotten something at home, and then you come back home, and then you come back to get it, and then you have to go back into the house and go back. It's the exact equivalent of that. So that's the best way I can explain it. So Saturn is going back into Capricorn because it's forgotten something. What has it forgotten? Well, obviously Saturn hasn't forgotten anything. We all have forgotten something. So it's trying to tell us that there's some unfinished task, there's some unfinished work or karma relating to Capricorn that all of us still need to finish. There's a task that needs to get completed in order to get the results from Aquarius. So Capricorn is the zodiac sign of putting in the hard work. We have forgotten to complete a task, a karmic task in that house. So we need to go back, complete that karmic task, because so then we move back into Aquarius. Aquarius is the results or the gains that we get from our karma. So in order to get the gains from our karma, in order to get the gains from all what we've done, or expect something to get in return for all our hard work, we have to finish something or complete the task, complete the karma before we get the gains from the sign of Aquarius. Aquarius is considered the better zodiac sign of Saturn. Saturn rules both Capricorn and Aquarius, but Aquarius is considered the better zodiac sign of Saturn because it's considered the sign of gains, and Capricorn is considered the sign of hard work. So when Saturn retrogrades back to Capricorn, it's telling us, what have you not completed? What is the task? What is the karma that you have not completed in Capricorn? Because unless you complete that, you're not going to get the gains that you were expecting from Aquarius. So I just wanted to mention that when Saturn, while it's all this retrograde going back from Aquarius to Capricorn, Saturn is never going to change its nakshatra. The nakshatra that it's in is Dhanishta, and Dhanishta is ruled by Mars. Mars means action, and taking action, doing something, taking action to complete a task. So it's even more significant that we take action and do what is needed to get taken. Even though we don't want to do something, it's telling us you need to take action to do whatever it is, to complete tasks, to finish whatever you started. I'm going to move on to predictions by ascendant. So the predictions I make is by your ascendant or your rising sign or your lagna, which is the first zodiac sign of the birth chart. So the first house zodiac sign is what I base it on. Now, if you want to listen based on your moon sign, you're more than welcome to. So sometimes when you look at Saturn's transit, sometimes the moon sign works as well. So you can listen to both, or you can listen to the ascendant sign or the moon sign also. But it definitely has nothing to do with your sun sign. Is based on the magazines and newspapers, that's based on your sun sign. Please don't listen to it based on that. It's going to be completely inaccurate. Also, this is based on Vedic astrology, which is sidereal astrology. It is not based on Western astrology, which is tropical astrology. That's usually off by one zodiac sign. So the predictions I give are always very general, based on just your ascendant and based on the transit. Actual events are always based on your unique birth chart. Also, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe to my channel. Also, one more thing is that I have been doing a lot of birth chart readings, which I'm going to put a pause on that. So I'm not going to be doing any more birth chart readings for a while now, and I'll let you know when I start doing them again. I'm only going to complete, if you already have a scheduled appointment with me, I will complete those. Aries, Saturn will move back from your 11th house to your 10th house. The 10th house relates to career, and the 11th house gains from your career or your hard work. Now, I'm sure from April to July, you're probably enjoying some gains, or you're expecting some gains. But when it moves back in July, it moves back to the 10th house. Saturn is trying to tell you that there's something left that you needed to do. There was maybe something in your career or some hard work that you haven't completed yet. Something that relates to your job or your profession or your career that you still need to put in. Some hard work, some additional learning, or something that you still need to do. When it moves back after July in your 10th house, you're going to see some work-life balances, some challenges with your work-life balance. It's also going to impact your 12th house, which is high in expenses as well. So you need to control your expenses if that's going to bother you. One of the other challenges you're going to see is in your marriage. If you're married, your 7th house is also going to get impacted. Ketu is sitting there in the house of Libra. So if there's challenges before, and you probably got a little bit of a break when Saturn moved into the 11th house, but now Saturn's moving 10th house, it's going to look at your 7th house and cause a little bit of disturbance and marital differences. Try to manage those relationships. Saturn is asking you, I think Saturn is asking the Aries people to learn how to manage their career and their work life and their personal life a little better. And that's why it will give you good results next year if you're able to manage your relationships, manage your career well. So the guidance for Aries is to learn how to manage work and your personal life a little better. Manage to give your personal life some time as well as you grow towards your career. You cannot just put all your effort into your career, but your personal life and your home life needs attention too. Saturn in the 10th house also disturbs your mental peace and home happiness. So these are some of the significations when Saturn moves back in July, and it's teaching you that you need to put some more effort, not only in your career but in your home life as well. Taurus, Taurus, Saturn moves from your 10th house to your 9th house. The 10th house is your house of career. So since April till July, you might feel like, your career is doing great, you're wanted, you're getting good job offers if you needed a job offer, or your career is just growing and you're really doing well and you were happy in that. After July, it moves into the 9th house, and the 9th house signifies your good luck factor. Also your father, your blessings from your ancestors, blessings from the guru, blessings from the divine, or the dharma that you believe in. This is going to impact all of that. And now all of a sudden after July, you might feel like you're not getting enough support from everybody unless you put in the hard work to maintain these relationships. The 9th house also looks at the 11th house. The 11th house is your network, your friends, and your gains. You need to work to that. You need to work to that. You need to put the effort into your network of people, reach into them, and if you want their help. Otherwise, they're just going to move away from you. It also looks at your 3rd house. The 3rd house is short distance travels and your siblings. It also looks at the 6th house, which is 6th house is the house of hard work, health, and also the house of co-workers. You're going to have to work on these relationships, and that's what Saturn is trying to tell you, that you need to work on these relationships. If you're getting good things in your career, it's not all because of your effort. Sometimes we get good things in our life not because of everything that we do or all our effort. It's because of the people that support us. The people that are supporting you, Taurus, is because of some of the good things that are happening in your life. You need to start appreciating them, and that's what Saturn's teaching the Taurus people is. By moving into the 9th house, it's saying that you get your good luck, which is of course based on your own effort, but the good luck is also based on because other people support you and love you and push you and give you that good luck. You need to work on your relationship with your siblings. You also need to work on relationship with co-workers. Also a time where you need to take good care of your health. So take good care of your health, work on your relationship with not only your father and your siblings and your co-workers, but also work on the luck that you get from the divine and your ancestors. Make sure you stay close to the divine. You need to meditate a lot and learn how it is that you can work on your good luck factor so your career next year can do even better. Gemini, Saturn moves from your 9th house to your 8th house. Now, the 9th house until July, you might feel like, okay, you're starting to feel a little better. You're starting to feel close to your dharma, your religion. You're doing a lot of meditation probably. And now after July, Saturn moves into the 8th house. The 8th house is full of challenges, obstacles, and above all, it's your health. So after July, my Gemini people may feel a little stressed and they may feel like they're not healthy. This is one of the things for Gemini people to do, is to do meditation. What is Saturn teaching the Gemini people by going into the 8th house? The 8th house is a house where you learn to manage your stress, learn to manage your health. Now, by managing health, what do I really mean? If you're sick, you're sick. Well, one of the things that Saturn always says is you need to take your obstacles and delays that come in your way, and you need to accept them gracefully and stop complaining. So Saturn is trying to tell you, take good care of your health. Regardless of what you have, you need to accept it, handle it, and then move on so you can heal from it. The more you complain about your health, the worse your health is going to get, because the 8th house talks a lot about energy. I believe that the 8th house is all about some energy, some challenging energy. The more you think about the fact that you're sick, it's not, I'm hurting, I'm not well, I'm this, I'm that, I'm not satisfied. The more you think about the negative things in life, the more you attract these negative things in life. Saturn is trying to tell the Gemini people, and I know some of the Gemini people have been suffering, either mentally or physically. Gemini has had a trying time for the last 2.5 years, but they need to learn from this trying time if they want to move on to the next house, which is the house of luck and healing next year. And they need to understand that complaining, or feeling selfishly complaining, I should say, isn't going to help matters. The fact that they need to just work on themselves with a positive energy is going to help them heal more than complaining about it. Complaining about a disease never helps you heal. It makes it worse, because you have negative energy. When you have positive energy and you say, I'm just going to heal myself and I'm going to feel better, instantly makes you feel better. One of the problems is going to be when Saturn is in the 8th house, it's going to look at the second house, and the second house relates to family, it relates to finance, and above all, it relates to the food you eat. So my recommendation for Gemini people is to make sure they're eating very, very healthy food. A lot of times when Saturn looks at the second house, we tend to eat stale food, bad food, or old food, or things that are not really good for dry food. Saturn represents dryness, so that we start eating dry food. We think that we don't want to eat, have too much oil, too much grease, and actually that actually makes it worse, because Saturn in the 8th house gives bowel issues. So it gives bowel issues. So when you eat dry food, you're going to have bowel issues. So I would recommend to my Gemini people, make sure you're eating smart. And by eating smart, I don't mean you cut out all the oil in your diet. You make sure you have enough fat in your diet. I'm not saying you have to start eating all the fatty foods in the world, but make sure that you eat some fat in your diet, because Saturn's going to make you want to eat very dry food, and then it's going to give you some bowel issues as well. So make sure you eat healthy. Make sure you eat to make sure your digestion is good. So this is one of the significations for Gemini people. Also, one of the things that they need to watch out for is the relationship with their children, if they have children. If you're somebody that's in education, you're still getting educated, there could be some hurdles in education as well. You might see delays or lack of focus. So that's one of the things that you need to watch for. Also, love life might be a little challenged, so make sure you nurture those relationships very carefully. Cancer. So Cancer Saturn is moving from your 8th house back to your 7th house. Now I have two pieces of very good news for Cancer people. Until July, Cancer was having a lot of health issues, because Saturn in the 8th house is giving them extreme health issues, mostly related to digestion, because the 8th house is digestion issues based on the food you eat. So that is going to improve, because Cancer moves out after July, moves back into the 7th house. So all of a sudden, Cancer people might, if they were having any digestion issues, are going to improve drastically. The other thing that Cancer was challenged with is their career. They were not getting along with people in their career, and they were, having some friction at work, possibly. And that improves as well, because Saturn can stop staring at their 10th house of their career. So two pieces of good news. But there's always something bad, right? Saturn is never going to make everybody totally happy. So now Saturn starts to look at their 9th house. So now 9th house is the house of luck, and also the relationship with the father. So Cancer just got blessed because a flower just fell on me. So blessing from the universe for Cancer. So Cancer's 9th house is getting looked at, the house of Dharma, blessings from the father. So I see some issues with the relationship with your father. Make sure that you take good care of his health. Make sure you mend all relationships with your father if you had any issues with them. Tell him you love him. Also, the other house that Saturn is going to look at is your own house, which is your ascendant house. So your ascendant house, you're going to feel a little low on energy, and you're probably not going to be in the best of moods till next year. So you're going to feel a little dry. When Saturn aspects the first house, you kind of have a feeling of not the best sense of humor. Let's just say that. You're going to feel a little dry. You're going to be sulky. Saturn doesn't give you sarcasm. It just makes you sulk a lot and worry a lot. So you're going to have this worry, and you're going to sulk. That's kind of the down mood. Sad. It's not sad. It's like more of a mood that's kind of down. The other house that Saturn is going to impact for Cancer is the 4th house, which is the 4th house is domestic peace, peace at home, mental peace. And now that's going to be disturbed because of various reasons. One of the reasons could be just you're just in a bad mood. And the other thing is that Saturn actually moved into your 7th house, and the 7th house is your marriage. So relationship with your spouse, you need to take good care of it. Saturn has moved back into your 7th house because it's asking you to take a good look at you yourself. Okay, what do you need to learn? What is the task that you still need to learn in order to get a better relationship with your spouse? So remember, I said it's moving back to ask you to take one more final look and see in your marriage, in your 7th house, what do you need to learn from it? What do you need to get closure from it? And so it's asking you, and it's looking at your 1st house. So it's asking you, take a good look at yourself. what can you do in the relationship to improve it? And it's not all you, I'm not saying it's all you, but how can you help the relationship? Even if it's the spouse that's really more wrong, let's just say, we always think the spouse is more wrong anyway. So even if the spouse is, how can you help your spouse and yourself to mend the relationship? Managing the spouse and the relationship is going to be very, very tough right now. There may be, stuff that comes up. Maybe you're very busy with something. Maybe you're very busy with tasks. Maybe there's stuff going on at home, because remember, Cancer is looking at the home, health, happiness, stuff going on at home. Maybe you're very busy with tasks at home, and it's challenging the relationship because of, differences of opinion, of how you want to do stuff, how the other person wants to do stuff. So there's some challenges in the relationship. But for Cancer ascendants, you need to manage this challenge, the difference of opinion. You need to manage it and ask yourself, well, how can I help this relationship? How can I be the bigger person in the relationship? That's what Saturn is teaching you. Leo, Saturn moves from your 7th house to your 6th house. The 7th house, it relates to your marriage, your marital partner, your spouse. And so if you were having difficulty up to July, if you're having some difference of opinion with your spouse or in your marriage, this will improve after July. You might start to get along a little better. But when it moves back into the 6th house after July, it's going to look at your 8th house. Now that 6-8 combination is not a good combination for health purposes. So you need to take very, very good care of your health. You need to make sure you're eating very healthy at this time as well. By eating healthy, I've said that in several videos of mine, eating healthy, and it means different things to different people. So a lot of people try to cut out things in their diet when I say, when they hear the word eating healthy. So as far as a Saturn transit is concerned, when Saturn is a dry planet, okay, so eating dry food. So what Saturn does, sometimes it makes people eat dry food or cut out fats and oils in their diet. And this leads to a lot of bowel and stomach issues as well. It also leads to a lot of things like you can have very dry skin, you can have very dry hair, and so a little amount of fat is very necessary. And when Saturn moves into the 6th house and impacts the 8th house, the issues can come from dryness in the body. It can also come from aches and pains in the legs or in the spine as well. But mostly the 6th house relates to digestion. When they're both combined, it relates to digestion. So when I'm saying eat healthy, make sure you don't cut out things into your diet. Make sure you have a well-balanced diet. You don't cut out any food items or food groups. Make sure you don't cut out food groups in your diet. Make sure you're consuming enough of everything, and especially don't have a dry diet where you're cutting out oils in your diet. So this is a very bad thing when Saturn is retrograde in the 6th house and impacts the 8th house. So that's one thing. The other aspect of Saturn after July is going to be the 12th house. The 12th house is the house of expenses. So there's going to be some issues with expenses, and if you want to, make sure you control them, because the 12th house does signify high expenses. It also signifies some long distance travel or some dealings with foreign entities, going to foreign places or dealing with foreign people or connections with the foreign people living in foreign lands. It signifies also the 3rd house. The 3rd house is the house of siblings, initiatives. So you have to take very good care at this time from July until the end of January next year to make sure that you don't burn relationships with your siblings, no matter what the issue. This is a time when your relationship with siblings will come into great, into your life. Siblings may come into your life, and you have to make sure that you don't burn these relationships, because it's impacting the 6th and the 8th house. The 6th house is not a good house, meaning it creates enmity, or it creates differences. Enmity is not a good word, but in this case I'll say it creates differences. So you have to watch and make sure you don't create differences with your siblings at this time. So make sure whatever it is, you nurture those relationships, watch the expenses, take very good care of your health, and eat very healthy at this time. And one of these things that I can recommend for my Leo ascendants is to make sure if you have a good health regimen. The 6th house means you need a good health regimen from a workout perspective. You don't have to go to the gym or do strenuous exercise. As long as you're doing mild yoga, stretching, or it's enough to satisfy the need of the 6th house, and that should take care of your health. The third house also signifies short distance travel. So if you have a lot of short distance travel during this time, make sure you keep everything that you need to. Make sure you don't forget anything at home. A lot of times when short distance travel by Saturn makes you forget some things. So make sure you have all your paperwork, you have everything that you need packed and ready to go. Otherwise, there may be delays or obstacles in your short distance travel. Virgo. Virgo, Saturn moves back from the 6th house to the 5th house. So when it was in the 6th house, it was probably giving you some aches and pains, some digestion issues as well, and also very high expenses. After July, when it moves into the 5th house, your expenses probably come down a little bit, and also you probably have some relief in your digestion and also aches and pains as well. But the 5th house is a tough house for Saturn to be in, because the 5th house, denotes all the nice things like relationship with your kids, your love life, education if you're in the field of education, or you're getting educated yourself, you're a student. And so Saturn's going to create obstacles in all of these areas. You might have some relationship issues with your children, in your love life. Also, if you're getting educated, like I said, if you're a student or you're in the field of education, you're going to lose focus. So all of these issues will start arising. Also, it's going to aspect the 7th house after July. With 7th house is your house of your marriage. So it's going to create some relationship or, difference of opinions and bickering back and forth with your spouse as well. And the other aspect that it's going to do is on the second house, which is second house is your house of communication and the food that you eat and your family and your finance. So you start getting challenged in that way, and how you communicate with these people, with the people in your life. It could be your children, it could be your marriage partner, and it could be your family in general. So you need to really watch for that. And what is Saturn really telling you when it moves back into the 5th house? The 5th house, before I forget, is also the house of investments, and it looks at the 11th house. So up to now, after April through July, you're probably having some good luck with investments, and you're probably making a lot of investment changes and getting some good returns. But after July, his recommendation is to not touch the investments too much, or not do too many investments, because when Saturn is in there, the returns are going to be either very slow or delayed. So think very carefully before you do any investment changes after July until next January. Now, obviously people do need to make investment changes, for a long period, but you have to think through them very carefully. The 5th house is a house of happiness. And so Saturn is trying to teach you your role, your communication, and your role in keeping happiness within relationships. It's trying to tell you, what have you done, or what is your role in maintaining happiness within relationships. The second house denotes money. So Saturn is trying to tell you, look, it's not money that makes people happy in your life. It's you and yourself that makes people happy. It's giving of yourself that makes people happy. So that's what Saturn is trying to teach you by going back into the 5th house, and it's trying to teach you that, have you learned, when I was in Capricorn, did I teach you enough that, how important happiness is in a relationship, as opposed to how important money is in a relationship. Libra, Saturn is moving from your 5th house to your 4th house. So until July, when it's in your 5th house, the 5th house relates to children, love life, having fun, and education as well. So all of these areas of your life are probably challenged. You're probably very worried about your children or your education, or having some challenges in your love life, or if, like I said, it wasn't a fun time. If you have none of these issues, then you're probably just not having a fun time. You're probably very stressed and not enjoying your life. Now it moves back into the 4th house, and so the worry that you had regarding your children or your love relationship probably improve a lot now. All of a sudden, things are going to improve in all of these areas. So also the time that you were having, where you were just not having fun, you probably start having a lot more fun after July. It's going to be a fun time. The 5th house is about having fun, going out and being entertained, and generally having a fun time with just going out and entertaining yourself. After July, when it moves into the 4th house, it's going to cause some stress at home or domestic bliss. So it's stress within the 4 walls of your house, probably a lot of stuff going on in the house. It could also mean some work going on, relocation, or work within the 4 walls of your house, going on as well. It also aspects your 6th house. It also aspects the 10th house, which is the house of careers. 6th house is your co-workers, and your 1st house, which is your ascendant house. So don't forget Ketu, South South Node is sitting in your ascendant house, challenging you and your emotional relationships with people. So that's already impacting the Libra people. And now Saturn is aspecting it. So this is all about relationships with your co-workers and your career. So Saturn is asking you to take a look at yourself, your mental happiness. So when it moves back into the 4th house, it's actually telling you to take a look at your own self, your own mental makeup, your own mental happiness, what's going on inside your head, and think about how you are as a person, what really makes you happy, what do you need to change about yourself so that you have better relationships, not only with your coworkers, but in order to get ahead in your career. So it's trying to tell you that you're your own worst enemy. Your attitude is your own worst enemy. That is, maybe not letting you get ahead in business, or you're not making, not having successful relationships, or maybe having challenges in relationships. So that's what Saturn's move back into the 4th house is teaching the Libra people. They're going to have a challenging time with relationships because of South Node Ketu being in their ascendant house. So they're going to be very, critical. They're going to be, dry. They're going to have anger issues, irritability issues. They really need to work on this. Otherwise, they're going to have significant issues in relationships anyway. And now this next 6 months after July to next January, it's going to be a critical time for them. There's going to be a karmic time for them. So I really caution my Libra people to take a good look at themselves, their mental makeup, their own attitude, and understand what they need to change about themselves so they can grow in their career and nurture the relationships that are so important to them, but not only at home, but also at work. This is the time for self-introspection for the Libra ascendants. It's extremely karmic. Don't let this go to waste. Do what you need to do to change yourself. Scorpio. Scorpio Saturn is moving from the 4th house to your 3rd house. So when it was in the 4th house, and it's going to be there till July, it impacts your domestic bliss at home, very dissatisfied at home, kind of, a tense atmosphere at home. Also some tension at work. Now after July, things might change a little bit because it moves into your 3rd house. And the 3rd house is a house of initiative, your own drive, your energy, wanting to do things, taking on, your self-effort, taking on more work, the ability to take on more work, your energy. Now that's all going to get challenged after July because you're not going to feel like taking on initiatives. You're going to have maybe a bad attitude and feel like not doing anything, or feeling like others should do more than you. You've put in the hard work, and now why aren't others doing whatever they need to do? The 3rd house is also going to impact the 5th house, which is the house of children, love life. And so the worries are going to start about the children. You're probably going to be a little worried about maybe their education, or if you're in the field of education yourself, your education, you're going to lose focus completely. You're not going to be interested in it. Also, love life have some challenges, so you need to nurture that as well. The other challenge is going to be in the 9th house, where the 9th house is the house of father. So you need to take care of your father's health. Stay true to your guru, your dharma, your divine. You also might feel like, because the 9th house is the house of luck, you might also feel the luck is not on your side at this time. And the other final house that it aspects is the 12th house, which is the house of high expenses. And so here go, your expenses are going to be really high starting in July till next year. And so that might be one of the factors that's going to get you a little down as well. So what is Saturn, by moving back into the 3rd house? What is the lesson? What is the unlearned lesson that Saturn is trying to teach the Scorpio people? 3rd house is the house of effort. It's also the house of siblings. It's, like I said, it's the house of energy, taking action to do something. What Saturn is trying to teach you is that you need to take the initiative to do what you need to do yourself, instead of worrying about what everybody else is doing. It's impacting the 5th house, which is the 5th house is a house of having fun, and now it's going to impact it, and you're not going to have fun. And so what Saturn is trying to say is, instead of worrying about what others are doing and what others are putting in the job, in the work area, why don't you worry about yourself? Learn to figure out what you need to do. Learn to figure out what your attitude needs to be at work. You need to figure out how much effort you need to put into your work, in order to get gains from it. And the reason you're not getting gains from it, or the reason you're having high expense and they're taking away the gains, is because of your own attitude. Your attitude is your karma. So your attitude creates this negative karma. When you have attitude towards other people of saying, that one's lazy, this one's not doing whatever. When you pick on other people and their initiatives, instead of worrying about what your own initiatives are, you actually create negative karma. And so you challenge the gains you're going to get. And that's why your expenses go up. So either you have good gains or your expenses go up. It's this, it's the opposing impact. So after January, if you think you want to get good gains in your career, you want to get some good recognition, you need to stop worrying about other people and put in your own initiative. It's your own attitude that's going to get you gains. Instead of, like I said, worrying about other people, worry about your own initiative, your own energy, and your own self-effort. And that's the reason Saturn is moving back, to teach you that it's your own effort that's way more important than worrying about other people's efforts. Sagittarius, Saturn will move back from your third house to your second house. So the third house up to July was your house of initiative, high energy, wanting to do things. And you're probably challenged in that until July, where you just didn't want to do anything. You're so tired of it, didn't have energy, kind of, lackluster feeling. So when Saturn moves to the second house, all of a sudden you might feel a little more energy, like your energy has returned, your desire to do things, put in the self-effort, dedication to the job has now returned. The second house represents food, family, savings. And one of the things it does is aspect the eighth house as well. So the eighth house represents, sickness of some sort. So when the second and the eighth are impacted at the same time, it represents that the food you eat could make you sick as well. So you have to make sure that you follow a very healthy diet and you're very careful about what you eat, or you could get some bowel issues, or you could also get aches and pains as well. So make sure you're eating a healthy diet, and make sure the diet that you eat is not too dry, because when Saturn moves into the second house, sometimes we tend to cut out the fats or the greasy food in our diet, and we go on a diet that eliminates that all of a sudden, and that's not going to be very healthy, because it's going to impact your digestion at this time. Saturn also will impact the fourth house at this time when it moves back in there in the second house after July. The fourth house is the house of mental peace, your four walls of the house, and you might have some disturbance in there. You might feel a little stressed in there, so you need to watch that. Now, what is going to cause that disturbance? It's going to be your communication, because the second house does represent communication. So you need to communicate very positively, otherwise it's very possible that you burn these relationships at home. The eighth house is also your in-laws, so it's possible that you burn your relationships with your in-laws unless you watch your communication very carefully. Capricorn, Saturn is your ascendant lord, and it was in your ascendant house for 2.5 years, and in April it moved out to the second house, and now it's coming back from the second house to your first house and your ascendant house again. Now, while it was in the second house from April to July this year, it's probably giving some communication issues. Food issues were probably making you sick, and your mother's health was probably not doing really well. Or there was domestic issues at home, some domestic stress at home. Now, all of that after July will improve. So the stress of money will improve. Your health might improve. Your mother, if you're blessed to have her in your life, she's probably going to do better. Your relationship with your mother will probably improve as well. Relationship with family probably will improve as well. But now it moves into your ascendant house, and now it causes you stress. It makes you work really hard. So after July, Capricorn is going to have to work really hard to put in the initiative, to put in the hard work, because the third house is going to aspect it. So the third house also deals with short distance travels, so those might be happening in the next few months. Also, if you do short distance travels, make sure you have everything in order and you put everything in order. Don't forget anything, and don't leave anything at home. All your paperwork is in order. The other house that's going to get impacted after July is your your seventh house, which is your house of marriage house. So there's going to be some difference of opinion at home with your marriage partner. Make sure you nurture that. You don't get into spats and quarrels at home. Make sure you nurture that relationship as well. And the last house that gets impacted again after 2.5 years is the house of the career, the 10th house. So why has Saturn moved back into your ascendant house? One of the reasons is that it wants to have you learn the fact that you need to work harder on relationships, or if you want to get gains, from your career, or if you want to find happiness with your spouse, you need to put in some more extra work, or there's some learning you need to do in order to get the gains, or in order to get the gains from not only your spouse but from your work. So make sure you learn what you need to do in order to nurture these relationships. Put in the extra initiative, put in the self-effort, learn what you need to do to nurture these relationships. Also, to get the gains from your career. Is there something you needed to learn? Is there some additional skill that you needed to learn? Did you need to put in a little more self-effort to get the help in your career? That's why Saturn has come back into your ascendant lord, Aquarius. Aquarius Saturn is your ascendant lord, and it has been in your ascendant house till July. And then after that, it's going to move to your 12th house. Now, when it was in your ascendant house until July, what it was doing was causing you extreme worry, also challenges in your career. And also it was giving you low energy and the unwillingness to do anything, take initiatives, the drive to do something or put the self-effort. Then after July, when it moves into the 12th house, all of a sudden you're going to get this burst of energy. Your career might start doing better again, and you might start feeling a sense of relief in your body. When Saturn is in the ascendant house, it kind of gives you a low energy, and it also makes you feel very down. Now, as soon as it moves out and moves into the 12th house after July, you start going to feel better. Career is going to start doing well. But the 12th house also indicates high expenses. So all of a sudden, the expenses will start going back up again. And also it aspects the second house. So the second house is your savings. So all of a sudden, you start dipping into your savings and start high expenses. The second house also relates to your communication and your family and the food that you eat. So you have to be very careful with your communication. And this is guidance for all my Aquarius ascendants, is to make sure their communication is very polite, very cordial. Otherwise, there's a chance of losing relationships at this time. So they have to make sure their communication is good, and the food that they eat, they have to make sure that it's very healthy as well. Otherwise, their health could suffer as well. The 12th house Saturn also means you might have long distance travel after July. So maybe the expenses being spent on long distance travel. But if you do long distance travel, you have to make sure you have all your paperwork, everything in good order before you take off, because Saturn in the 12th house, even though it gives long distance travels, there could be obstacles, delays, or some difficulties. Make sure you have everything in order and nothing is out of place in order to make your travel be, go well. Now, what is Saturn trying to teach Aquarius by moving back into the 12th house? The 12th house is a house of expenses. Physical expenses, yes, but it's also the house of spirituality. And Aquarius has been entangled in spending money on material things. So Saturn's move back into the 12th house is teaching Aquarius that, look, I understand that you need to spend on material things, and that's wonderful. That's fine. But the 12th house teaches spirituality. And so Saturn is trying to teach Aquarius people, have you learned the lesson to be a little more spiritual and less spending on material things, which Aquarius has just been spending left and right the last 2.5 years that Saturn has been in the 12th house for them. And then Saturn's trying to teach them the final lesson of, it's okay, yeah, sure, you can spend on material things, but don't forget your spirituality. The last lesson of the 12th house is spirituality. Don't forget the lesson of spirituality of the 12th house. While you spend on material things, while you're spending on the nice things of life or spending money here and there, you need to spend your emotions on spirituality as well. So learn to be a little more spiritual, less material, and that's the lesson that Aquarius needs to learn so they can learn to control their material spending at this time. Pisces Saturn is going to move from your 12th house to your 10th house. The 12th house was your house of expenses. So until July, it's in your 12th house. So if you were having very high expenses, until July, after it moves out, Saturn moves out of the 12th house into your 10th house, your expenses might come under control after July. So that's the good news. Also, if there was any relationship issues you were having with family members until July, they improve after July as well. So there's two pieces of good news for my Pisces ascendants. One of the other things that's going to happen, it can all be good. So it moves into your 11th house. The 11th house is a house of gains, network, in your network. So your gains or investment gains are going to be challenges this time after July. So it also aspects the 5th house. So you need to watch your relationship with your children, You also, if you don't have children, your love life, you need to make sure you nurture your love life. And also, the last thing is, if you're getting educated, you're doing, in the field of education, you're still a student, you're getting educated, completely lose focus. That's what Saturn does. It creates obstacles in education, or it makes you lose focus. So you need to watch for that as well after July. If you're doing investments or you're trying to make investments, after July is not a good time at all to do, because the 5th and the 11th house getting impacted by Saturn means not good returns on investments in the short term. Saturn's move into the 11th house is going to aspect your own ascendant house. So your own ascendant house, but Saturn aspect is going to mean that you're going to be very stressed and you're going to need to work very hard. So your physical body is going to be stressed, as well as mentally you might be stressed a little too, because you might be worried about all the extra work that you're having to do. Also, the aspect on the 8th house means that you have to take good care of your health. So when the 1st and the 8th get activated, it causes a lot of mental stress. That's what it's going to do. So not so worried about the physical health as opposed to the mental worries and the mental health that you're going to go through. So you're make sure you take good care of your mental health. Don't get so stressed out. And one of the things I recommend for my Pisces ascendant is to do a lot of meditation. Meditation, breathing exercises, deep breathing exercises. It's a very good time to do that. I know Saturn's going to make you work very hard, but at the same time, you have relief from some of the areas that have been troubling you. So make sure you take good care of your physical body. Eat healthy, but more importantly, take care of your mental health. Don't stress out too much. And that's it for this Saturn video. Good luck. I hope everybody has a good transit. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you on one of my next videos. Goodbye.